Oh, looks like another politician has joined our side of the fight. Cracking. Hi, it's me again. And yet another politician has joined us on this side of the fight. And loads of people always tell me, John, tell everybody to write to their local MP. And I don't know, what do MPs actually do? And maybe that is something I should do. Because they're at the sharp end of the stick, aren't they, when it comes to getting change on stuff like this. So, yeah, maybe a few more being converted wouldn't hurt the fight. But let's have a look at this one here, look. East Renfrewshire politician calls for reform of TV licence fee. Guessing that's somewhere north of the border. I'm sure we'll find out. Speaking in a Holyrood debate, I told you, north of the border. Eastwood MSP Jackson Carlaw highlighted the popularity of streaming services such as Netflix, Apple, Disney, Now and Paramount amongst younger generation and the challenges this presents for the BBC. He noted that many people aged under 35 are no longer paying the licence fee because they are instead watching programmes available on streaming platforms. It is a fair fact. I mean, he's bang on the money with that. Yeah, I think I would have said maybe under 25 rather than under 35. But, I know quite a few under 25s and they can't even conceive of a time. Like you try and tell my 14-year-old niece, right? You try and tell her that, back in the day before we had the streaming services, if your favourite programme was on Thursday at 8, you had to be there at Thursday at 8 or you don't get to see it. They're like, whoa, they just don't get it. Because they want to watch what they want to watch, whenever they want to watch it, and as much of them as they want to watch. That is the future of television, sheer choice. And yeah, he's right. He's right. And when you take that into consideration, there is no licence fee. Because the only time you'd need a licence fee in that situation is to use BBC iPlayer. But you can watch all the Channel 3 you want, all the Channel 4 you want, all the Channel 5, all the Now TV, which is your Sky stuff on demand, all your Netflix or your Amazon. You can watch all of that, and you don't need a licence today. So there is no argument for the TV licence fee, is there? If this is the future of television, they need to do something. They've got to do it quick. Mr. Carlaw said that to ensure the BBC has a future, a revised funding model must be adopted. Yeah, but not a tax on the people revised funding model. Let them stand on their own 2 feet. ITV can stand on their own 2 feet. And recently, I used to say ITV turned over about 1.4 billion quid a year. So the BBC could do a bit better than that, but they still wouldn't be getting their 3.7 billion that they get currently. But the latest numbers out of ITV say that ITV is doing about 3.7 billion quid a year. The same amount that the licence fee generates as income for the BBC. So there is today no argument at all for the television licence fee. ITV is also a public service broadcaster, like the BBC. It makes the same amount of money as the BBC, but it does it commercially without asking the people for a penny. There is no argument anymore for the TV licence fee. When people of my generation were growing up, the BBC was watched by 20 million people every week, but today, programmes on terrestrial television are sometimes at the top 10 with as few as 3.5 million viewers. Again, that's a fair point. It's a fair point. I said in one of my other videos on my other channel that the most watched TV show of all time, broadcast TV show of all time in this country was it 1986, something like that. There's a Christmas Day episode of EastEnders, the one where Den served Angie divorce papers, apparently. Right? And that was watched by 30 million people. Half the population of the country sat down at the same time, Christmas Day, to watch the same television channel. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that happening now? Even for like the coronation or the Queen's funeral, that didn't happen because there were so many other places in which to watch it. You wouldn't get half the population watching the one TV channel. There's so much choice out there anymore. Those numbers are gone forever. I mean, streaming services get big numbers, but it grows over time, doesn't it? No one's just sitting there watching that. It's crazy. The age of broadcast TV is coming to an end. It just is. I support the principle of the licence fee, but as a funding model over the next 10 or 20 years, it will not be a reliable source of income for the BBC. It's not a reliable source of income for the BBC now. It's wrong. It's a tax on the people. There's no reason to charge it when they could go commercial and stand on their own 2 feet, like every other TV channel has to do it. And the more politicians and the more people in general we get talking about this, the faster the change is going to come. Because we need to do it in the next year or so, because the charter expires that keeps the BBC's licence fee in place. It expires in 2027. We've got to have the new options locked down by the end of next year, or the BBC won't have time to implement the changes, will they? So you're going to see a lot more ramping up this year. I think there's going to be a lot more debate about it this year. And it's going to be an interesting year for it. What do you think about all of this? What do you think? Is he your local MSP? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, because that way, hopefully, I'll see you in another video again soon. Ta-da!